I know you and I wanted to take a rare departure from our format and follow up on our last episode where we discussed the New York Times' list of the 100 best films of the 21st century. So during that episode, we talked about how New York Times readers could submit their own top 10 ballots, and the New York Times ultimately did compile a list of their readers' 500 best films of the 21st century. So we're not going to dive into that list. That's way too comprehensive. But it is certainly interesting as both a standalone list and even more so when comparing it to the initial list compiled from 500 influential film figures from around the world. But what we did want to do is share with you and each other, you meaning our viewers and each other, our own ballots for the 10 best films of the 21st century that each of us completed. So Doug, you want to start by sharing your top 10?
Yep. So, and just so the audience knows, Murph hasn't seen this at all, so this will be, we'll get his live reaction.
I want to, should we do some predictions for what I think could be on your list?
Yeah, I mean, let's go for it.
All right, Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Prestige. Inception. I think you said you would have multiple films from multiple directors. Killers of the Flower Moon. Would Sinners be on there? It's very, very recent. I'll say Sinners. That's 5. Let's do some earlier movies, earlier in the millennium. Super bad. I'll stick with that. I don't want to guess too many.
Okay.
Did I get any right?
You did get a couple of them. So.
Okay. Let's see. I should have known Gladiator down there. Okay. Talk.
I could not put Gladiator on there. So I kind of had a hard time with this list. Because there's like the best movie, and then there's just like movies that were meaningful to me, and so I kind of made this more of movies that were meaningful or movies that I thought impacted the 21st century the most. So I kind of took my own definition of these movies, because these obviously aren't, like, in my opinion, the best movies that, you know, were made quality wise, not all of them at least. So I went with Into the Spider-Verse. Of course, you were right on. Had to be on there. The Prestige. Yeah, I mean, I talked about that before. I felt like it had to be on there, partially because I wanted it to. I feel like it's underrated. I wanted it to get some love. And Killers of the Flower Moon, you were right on. Gladiator, of course, great movie. Dark Knight had to be on there for me.
I was between it. I was like, for the second Nolan movie, are you going to go with Inception or Dark Knight? And
so I struggled with that. I think Dark Knight had a bigger impact on me than Inception, although Inception was very good and I saw it multiple times. Like, I don't know, I just like remember us like waiting to see The Dark Knight and then like talking about it after, and it was just like such a big movie. for us, and we all loved that movie. Quoted the movie countless times, so like it felt like Dark Knight felt like the more impactful movie to me.
Yeah.
Inglourious Bastards to me is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. So Quentin Tarantino has a lot of great movies, so that had to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
The Part is an excellent movie.
Two Marty movies. So you got two Marty and two Nolan movies.
Two Marty, two Nolan. Casino Royale. It's probably my favorite Bond movie. Kind of the first Bond movie that really kind of brought me in, I would say, to the Bond universe. Never really got it too much into like outside of like the GoldenEye games. Never really got too into like the Pierce Brosnan era Bond.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of like his movies for us growing up were like kind of goofy.
I mean, yeah, it was like his most defining thing is like his video game for Nintendo 64.
Right. So like this was just like such a cool version of Bond. So Casino Royale had to be on there. And then the two probably most controversial of the ones I would put on here, and it goes, I guess, on how you define
the top two.
Yeah, how you define best movie. I know I kind of took like a different approach than you did. Avatar: The Way of Water. I struggled between Avatar and Avatar: The Way of Water because I was like, I feel like Avatar needs to be on here just because of the movie going experience that that James Cameron created. I think was worthy of it being called out on the top 10. I went with Way of Water just because Way of Water is the better of the two movies.
Yes.
So that's why I went with Avatar: Way of Water. Although you could argue Avatar was the more game-changing one, so Avatar should be on there. But anyway, struggle a little bit on that. And then Avengers Endgame. I mean, that's as far as cinematic experiences go, up there. For greatest cinematic experiences of all time and just what they were able to pull off with that movie. Is it the best? It depends how you define best, right? So I just kind of, I think our lists are going to be very different because of this, but
yeah, we got a couple. We do have some overlap, but yeah, they're definitely different in how we both approach things.
Yeah. All right. Well,
but I feel like I interrupted you when you were in the middle of saying something.
No, I just think your list is going to be very different than this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like your list. I mean, all 10 of your films I like a lot. I would say nearly all of them would be. I mean, there's definitely some of them on here that would like that I didn't have in my top 10 that would make my top 20. The majority of them would make my top 50. Probably nearly all of them. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely you went. I'd say in your more favorite films.
Yeah.
Than necessarily best. Mine is more of on like a technical plus me really enjoying them level, versus something that I would like rewatch all the time. Like a Casino Royale is something I've seen more than a lot of the movies on my own top 10 list. An absolutely incredible movie, but it's not in my top 10. Gladiator is probably the closest thing to one that would be something that just missed it based on the way I picked my top 10. But okay, all right. When choosing my list I tried to give myself some boundaries, so I only kept it to one film per director, which it was hard enough to narrow movies. It was so hard to do this. And I mean, I don't even necessarily like love my list. Like, think it's like, if I did it again today, I'd probably have different movies on it. Or if I did it in a week, I tried to have movies from the majority, from spread out throughout the last 25 years. But I tried to avoid recency bias. So I was very close to having some from this last 5 years, but ultimately didn't. I tried to spread out genres, so everything kind of got a little bit of representation, versus just one particular type of movie that I might, or genre that I might favor. So I've got, before I share my screen, I mean, I've got horror, I've got comedy, I've got drama, sci-fi, animation, like basically a little bit of this and that. Period pieces.
Well, that's kind of helps me.
I'm helping. Yeah, I'm helping you to a degree for sure. I definitely give you more hints than the 0 hints that I went into with yours. But and I even told you there were some overlap. But yeah, feel free, throw some guesses out, and then I will share my screen.
God, yeah, you said comedy and horror. Okay. Social Network is one of your favorite movies. I'd be shocked if that didn't make it to your list. Along with Whiplash. If you were gonna pick you would represent Nolan. I would think you would do Dark Knight, but I guess we'll have to see on that one. You mentioned sci-fi, which makes me think like maybe Minority Report for your Spielberg representation. Comedy, I lean like maybe Superbad. You also mentioned horror, which I think Get Out you've mentioned in the past is your favorite horror movie. So of the 21st century, so I would probably say Get Out might make the list. You would want to represent Marty. Maybe that's the other overlap is The Departed. So you would want to represent Marty, Spielberg.
You've gotten 5.
I don't know. I'm gonna overthink this, and just show us the list.
Okay.
I feel like I'm gonna overthink it.
Hardest thing is for both of us was guessing what was our Nolan situation. But yeah, you did get 5. You got the overlap movie, one of the 2 overlap movies. So, and here's mine. All right, so I went in descending order. I started from the bottom. From the bottom, I went in like yearly order. So yeah, if you were right about Spielberg, I have a Minority Report I threw on there. That was one of my favorites of high school, throughout high school. The representation for Spielberg. I mean, you saw how passionate I was when it was on the list for the like top 100 of the industry list, where I was legit shocked that it was on there. But yes, we got sci-fi there. Also get Tom Cruise. I didn't throw any Mission Impossible movies, but like my love of that franchise just like kind of moved it over to this. Shaun of the Dead, I put as comedy. Ultimately, it was between that or Superbad, but I thought Shaun of the Dead is the better made movie. Just the screenplay.
you like the trilogy too, and it's a way to
I like the whole Cornetto trilogy. It was tough to go between Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz, but ultimately, Shaun of the Dead was the one that kicked it off. And even if some of them are more technical achievements after or more deeper storytelling, this was the one that started it. But yeah, just this screenplay by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, and then the overall direction. There's no like continuity errors, and that's what I thought of when I thought of Superbad. Like the way it's shot, there's just a lot of like continuity errors. Where I'm like, okay, if you're like literally the best, you can't have things like that. So out for that. But that's going to happen when you're doing a movie with a lot of improv and a lot of actors moving around in parties and things like that. The Departed, that's my Marty movie, big one for me, probably my favorite movie like during college. So we had our overlap there. But, I mean, Leo, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, and Mark Wahlberg all coming into a movie together was like beyond hyped back in 2006 when that came out. Even though I don't think much of Mark Wahlberg as an actor anymore. This was like towards the end of like actually caring about what he did. Ratatouille, because
I should have guessed that. I'm annoyed at myself for not picking that one because you even like mentioned how much you love Ratatouille in the when we were going over the list the last time. So like, yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself.
It is my second favorite Pixar movie, and my favorite of the 21st. Toy Story 2 just missed out. Had that been 1 year later, would have thrown that on there. And yeah, PTA just missed out with some of his late 90s movies. I mean, Punch Drunk Love would have been very close to making this. It would definitely be in the top 20.
I thought about Punch Drunk Love, but for some reason I didn't think it would make your list.
Yeah. But yeah, Ratatouille, I wanted to represent Pixar based on how important they were for their filmography was for especially the 2000s, where they were just like banger after banger after banger. Yes, Spider-Verse has changed the game and the way animation looks completely, but for a time, this was the game changer. Yeah, I mean, both of those are just two incredible films, Into the Spider-Verse and Ratatouille, but ultimately went with my OG love of Pixar. Inglourious Bastards, that's our other overlap. It's my favorite or second favorite QT movie. It's between that or Pulp Fiction. Got a war movie here, a movie about movies to a degree, which it stands alone on this list in that regard. But just incredibly entertaining. Like you said, Social Network. This one was a tough one because I absolutely adore the Social Network, but not having Zodiac on the list was also a killer, no pun intended. That was one of the two that I struggled with the most when it came to a particular director. But ultimately, I went with the one that I personally like more, and I think they're ultimately just as much of an achievement in cinema. Boyhood, not one that I've gone back to rewatch a ton of times or anything like that, but it is just such a cinematic achievement and such like a ambitious project that somehow worked that I felt like I had no choice but to include it. First of a lot of movies from 2014 on my list.
I haven't seen Boyhood.
Is that the only movie? Is that the only movie on here you haven't seen?
Yep, that's the only movie on here I haven't seen was Boyhood.
Okay, and you mean Whiplash? We just caught it in theaters last year for the 10-year re-release. But yeah, Boyhood, Richard Linklater. I mean, if anyone's unfamiliar with it, it was filmed over a 12-year period with the same actors. So you're literally watching these actors grow and in the story that somehow narratively works. It by all like means it should not, and yet it does. So really moving picture. Oh, by the way, Minority Report, are you so low on it because you played the video game? Didn't you own the video game?
I did own the video game.
Yeah, you shouldn't have owned the video game.
I just don't really like the movie. Doesn't really do anything for me. I went back and watched it like a year or two ago, just to be like, did I just remember it poorly from when I was in theaters? And I was like, no, it's fine, but I don't have the love for it that you do. It just doesn't.
That's fair.
Doesn't do anything.
Okay. Then we've got, and I did the same with Minority Report fairly recently. And for me, it like held up, and I was like, okay, I agree with my assessment from 2002. All right, then the next 2014 movie I got on here, you were correct about this one as well, with Whiplash. I love this one. Literally, like, one of the biggest highs of my life was like the ending of that movie, and just knowing only so much about it going into it, and just blowing me away. If you can give me that sort of feeling, there's a good chance you'll ultimately be one of my favorite movies. Then this was the surprising one. Ultimately didn't go with Dark Knight when it came to Nolan. Went with Interstellar. I guess you can say there's some recency bias here in the fact that I've gotten so high on the movie over the past, past year, I've gone really high on it between the re-release, seeing it so many times in IMAX 70 millimeter, but between seeing Hans Zimmer play the music from the film, and that being one of the highlights of his performance, between meeting Matthew McConaughey very recently and him calling me Nerf.
You put it on the list before you met him, though, right?
No, this was like shortly thereafter.
Okay, so yeah, that could have. I think you're just a narcissist, and you like to hear your name called over and over.
I think that could be it. Hearing it 100-something times. But this was the movie that got me to buy a 4K Blu-ray player. Also, like, I'd only saw it the one time, but I was like, this is going to look incredible in 4K Blu-ray. So that was really when I watched it that time, that I started getting really high on the movie, and it started jumping up my Nolan rankings significantly. But then this past December is when it really took like another big jump. Dark Knight is obviously one of my favorite movies, my favorite performance of the 21st century, and Heath Ledger as Joker. But I think Interstellar is just a better made movie overall than The Dark Knight. And as you'll notice, you don't see any superhero movies on my list. And then lastly, you guessed it, with Get Out. That's just, I guess you can see with Shaun of the Dead as well. Horror mixed with comedy really works for me. It's dark humor in Get Out, but it's Jordan Peele. It's his baby, so you're getting comedy along with, and now we know we're getting horror elements with it, with his films. But that was a revelation, not something I was expected to see from him. And it's a quick, easy breezy movie you can go in and out of, and it just holds up incredibly well. And it feels like a very, timely piece for the 21st century. But the movie that I was closest to including from the 2020s was Nora. That was like my last cut, and I threw in Ratatouille because I wanted to include I threw in either Ratatouille or Shaun of the Dead at that point. I think Ratatouille because I wanted to include an animated film.
Yeah.
So
Nothing super surprising here. I mean, I think I just probably need to give Boyhood a shot just so I can see if I like it as much as you do. But
yeah,
I know you love all of these movies, so it's not surprising. And I should have put in Glorious Bastards because that should have been more obvious that you would have wanted to include Tarantino.
yeah. I mean, if I was doing a list of like the 20th century, I would likely have had Pulp Fiction on it.
Yeah.
And Boogie Nights would have been on there. Get that PTA representation. But yeah, a lot of my favorite directors are on here. I guess the outliers as far as my favorite directors would really be Jordan Peele and Brad Bird, and Damien Chazelle. The rest of them are probably made from 7 of my 10 favorite filmmakers that have been actively making films during our lifetime. So, I was. I would say definitely check out Boyhood. And yeah, I mean, to anyone watching, we'd be interested to hear what your ballot for your top 10 included. And let us know what you think of ours.